If I'm able to reduce the competitive advantage that my competitor had in the last 15 years
Right.
down to zero in a month, then I'm
Right.
scared of the technology. It is not questioning about why should I move to the next direction. It's about understanding the evolution. The AI bills also started climbing. My AI cost was twice my grocery cost. If you have a constraint, you will learn much faster. After 100K, even if your model has 1 million context window, it gets into a erratic zone and unreliability zone where it starts refusals, hallucinations, and other issues. More you stretch a conversation, the dumber your model gets.
Good morning. Hi, Sudarshan. How are you?
Hi Amit, long
Um,
time.
glad to meet you after a long time. And it's a Saturday morning, and thanks to you joining in to my podcast, which I try to do with a lot of senior leaders in data and AI space mostly, and I try to find out their experiences, and from their experiences, because why I'm talking to senior people, because we are the ones who have lived a lot part of our career before Gen AI, and we are like, most of us are in our 40s, and we are now seeing this a transformational change, where suddenly you are like brought up with new tools. I think we were just discussing that we are the generation who have seen from lanterns
To cassette tapes and we use
cassette tape.
pencils to rewind the
Exactly.
cassette tape that are stuck.
Yes.
From the VHS tapes to CD, DVD, Blu-ray, we have implemented across. We have seen dumb phones, your Nokia 3310s to iPhone launches to
Right.
where we are right now.
Right. To internet, to suddenly from typing to a technology which is typing for you, which is doing. And uh, we can say, because see, we have seen a part where problems were always solved, where say you are part of any organization, or you may be solving problems for, say, a retail, a giant, or you may be solving, say, some sort of a business process optimization problem for an insurance customer. But problems were always there, and people were always solving the problem, right? So but then I would just start with a random question to you, Sudarshan, and I'll let you introduce alongside that. How do you see that, what suddenly has changed with this AI coming in, Gen AI coming in, these tools coming in? You have seen a lot part of it. You have had a rich consulting experience before. So with your introduction, if you could also help me understand, like, how are you putting your head around this?
Thank you, Amit, for hosting me. So I'm Sudarshan, and right now I lead the growth team within a company called Quantzig, which is a analytics services organization. And as we said, right, we have evolved through a lot of technologies, including analytics. So right in the 2010s time frame is when the analytics caught up, and we both worked in New Sigma as well at that point in time, and that was
Right.
one of the pioneers of analytics at that point in time.
Right.
So from there, we had seen this role as a data scientist, and we were in an exploration mode of what exactly is data science. Is it pure math, or is it math plus business technology? What's the combination, and so on? It was an
Right.
exploratory path at that point in time. And from there, AI is another tool that came in, and that
Hmm.
helps in a lot of ways. But like you had Python, like you had all the regression models and your XGBoost models and so on, ML models, right? AI is an
Right.
evolution. It's a tool that we use. But how we use and what does it demand from you has changed.
Right.
So what the enterprises demanded from you is solution, but the pace of solutioning has changed a
Right.
lot.
Right.
And I still remember, so Amit, you were speaking about the session that we had earlier, right?
Right.
So let me share my screen. You have to let me share my screen, Amit.
Sure. Just give me a moment. You should be able to do that now.
Okay, let me try that again. Are you able to see my screen?
I can recognize this instantly.
Yeah, so as soon as you mentioned visualization, I searched for it. Luckily, I got it. The reason I wanted to show this is because this is a slide that I was talking about at that point in time. This was what,
Right.
2017 something, right?
17,
20,
late 2017, 18. Yeah.
right. So that is where I said some of the underrated skills. So analytics as a capability at that point in time, at least, I thought it as a combination of statistics, visualization, consulting framework, business communication, algorithmic thinking. But a more centralized piece, which was being demanded, is the combination of visualizing, consulting framework, business communication, the middle three skills.
Right.
That made you a visual communicator. That made you able to communicate to business stakeholders a lot. So you need a visual
Right.
communication framework.
Right.
And what GenAI has made you capable of is fantastic consulting frameworks, and you have access for to switch your context. One day
Hmm.
you can talk about pharmaceutical industry, the other day you can talk about uh, let's say retail, media, any of the technology companies and so on. So you can talk to exo level folks with
Right.
all the tool sets in mind, and you'll be able to use the visualization mechanism because you can build prototypes like in
Hmm.
an hour. Instead of building decks, which took about 2 days, you can build a prototype in an hour. So
Hmm.
that's the ability that it is created.
Right.
And because of which your job would also demand a lot from you, but
That's
it
true.
is easier to make yourself successful. With that, we have a common friend, Amit, who has a large business of weighing scales, right?
Hmm.
He recently learned AI, and what he's saying is for his weighing machines, the enterprise weighing machines and all, using Claude, he writes his own drivers as such. So he's like, I'm scared with the pace of technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm able to reduce the competitive advantage that my competitor had in the last 15 years
Right.
down to zero in a month, then I'm
Right.
scared of the technology. And I'm here to say that you shouldn't be scared. This will help you accelerate.
That's true. That's true. Look, I can understand the fear part. You see, the emergence funding, which I think happened yesterday itself, another 130 million round, and they have a
Mm.
very clear agenda where they say that we are taking away the software burden. That okay, you have ideas always. There are so many people who have ideas, who have smart businessmen, who have smart ideas, but it is also true that you have to depend on technology to scale your idea, to sell your things to a global audience. You need that say application level or software level capability, and you are always dependent upon say app development agencies, website agencies, and I mean so many agencies who have been doing well by serving so many customers. And just that's just mid tier, leave aside enterprise, right? And these people, and it just picked up that segment, and the kind of growth it has seen. And I think it has rode on true stories also, that people who could simply go to Emergent and could build something lovable, the way lovable grew, all the hockey stick growth these companies have seen is on that one promise that somebody called Sudarshan can sit and build his app, which he can be that one person founder maybe, and kind of earning millions and billions, right?
Absolutely. So it's the productivity delta that they're cashing in out. So if I'm able to, let's say an enterprise spends about $1 million on a solution, it's willing to pay, 1,000,010 if you can deliver the same solution in 6 months.
True.
So that 10% incremental productivity, at least to be conservative, for a
That's
faster
true.
implementation, execution, and a lot of productivity enhancements will
Hmm.
add value, and the overall economy will increase. That's the promise on which the incremental
Right.
spend, which is velocity. So we are playing on velocity.
I'm all in for velocity, but I have a concern also here. I'll come back to it, and that is that the skills leverage, the leverage
Hmm.
of the person's capability, right? AI in whatever it is, in the end, it has to be driven by a human, right? A human is that the human is as having stakes on the table, right? So it's not agent everywhere. So humans are the ones taking decision. Humans are the ones still paying for it, right? So as long as humans are paying for it, AI needs to be driven by humans. And when people come in, you have had a career where you had done you had a rich consulting experience, as I said, right? You had were part of Accenture, and I was going through your profile. We spent time together at Mu Sigma, and for the audience, we both are classmates from Great Lakes Institute of Management, and since those days, I've been knowing Sudarshan, and I think you spent some time in brand management, right?
Yeah,
You solved problems in retail, and I think in Musigma, when you're part of Musigma, there was a lot of retail problems you
yeah,
had been part of, and I think there were a couple of projects where we used to discuss and we used to discuss problems and solutions. Very interesting days. And then I think you moved to Accenture, and Accenture, then there was automotive, and I think it started spreading out, right? And this forced you to work, and those were the days there was no AI. I mean, there was no second brain for you. This was the only brain which you had to use and kind of pick up those skills and then design frameworks. And now when you have some tool which is kind of accelerating a lot of your blockages, for example, oh, I'll have to sit and code in Python. That will I'll have to, and you have to always be at the top of your skill. Otherwise, these skills veer off, right? I mean, if you don't code for some time, you simply lose touch, right? Because it requires a lot of keeping in your mind. But with AI coming in and all the blockages being clear, you are able to race through. Uh, but then there is a whole new bunch of people who are joining the workforce, right?
correct.
And they
So
not
the
going through that experience. How do you see this paradox?
So the world, in terms of labor force, right, it's being polarized in two directions.
Hmm.
So earlier you had a generalistic role and or a technological role, right?
Right,
Now it is
right.
demanding a lot from you. So if you are a generalist, you are expected to be a fantastic generalist. It cannot be generalist in two fields, let's say. You'll
Hmm.
have to have a multi-field general capabilities because when you grow up, you need to combine your knowledge of, let's say, your accounting, finance, and merge it with your operationalization and solutioning skills. So that
Right,
capability integration is required. On the other hand, if you're a technology specific specialist, then you're
right,
expected to be fantastic in technology. So
right.
because AI has given you the capability that you don't have to manually code, but you need to be a code reviewer. Now, you
Hmm.
might have seen a lot of counter examples, right, of codes deleting databases and so on.
Right,
Is it
right,
true? You can't hire a smart person, super smart person, and give them admin access.
right.
So there's a level of process that you need to set up in any ways. So
Right,
the process integration is required in any case.
right.
So you had a person with good AI capabilities. Again, if you look at
Hmm.
AI as a tool, it will be a fantastic productivity enhancer.
Hmm. Right. That's there. That's there.
And that's the reason. My example is different. I mean, I chose the consulting path through Accenture Consulting mainly because I thought the part of consulting frameworks that will help me a lot, and it has fantastically, phenomenally helped me in terms of shaping up the thought process.
Exactly. And one thing which I strongly believe as part of running a skilling and an education company is that these frameworks need to be uh, taught since the beginning. I mean, it should not be something which is coming later, because it helps you think better. It helps you because there's so much vagueness around, right? When you hit any problem, I can remember my Sigma days when, and that was the first time I was exposed to, say, this kind of thinking and consulting frameworks. And I was hit with a problem that, okay, you could, any problem, one liner would come from a customer. That was a typical way. And then you have to start digging in, digging in, digging in. So these frameworks are nothing but tools to think well, right? And if that is, say, taught to people from the very beginning, I think AI can become a force multiplier.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you some of the days when I have to travel, right? So I'm expected to meet one new industry expert every day when I'm traveling abroad, mainly because we have clients and every client expects us to be the expert in the conversations that we have. So one day I'm talking to a retail VP of retail in some of the business functions that we have businesses around, and the next day I'm talking to a commercial logistics organization. After that, the next day I'm expected to talk to a pharmaceutical commercial head and so on. So within a day's time, how do you prepare materials? How do you contextualize yourself and prepare for that conversation. That too with
Right.
exo level, and
Right.
that becomes a challenge. And AI helps there. AI helps very much.
That's true. That's true, Sudarshan. And that's where I want to be on the positive side of the fence in the whole AI debate. So as I was talking to one of the founders of one company, and he mentioned that AI is like a tsunami coming in.
Mhm.
So you want to ride the wave or you want to build shelters for you.
Yeah.
So it's a call that if you want to build shelters, but if you want to ride the wave, there is a lot for you.
Right,
Uh,
but if you notice the evolution of AI, right, a lot has changed. AI is
mm,
still in a discovery phase. Last
true.
year, right, 2025 is when DeepSeek R1 released, and then low cost AI
Yeah.
came into picture. At that point in time, 2025, let's say even in October, uh, I was using Gemini, OpenAI to some extent. I thought Claude कौन ही use करेगा? I mean, we
Mhm.
used web interfaces at that point in time, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Claude was like just something over there. Then code came in, and now the entire AI is moving towards either multimodal visual AI for marketing and other business functions, and
Right.
a large part is being researched upon for coding and
Very nice.
productivity enhancement. But
Very
again,
nice.
chip design. So yesterday, Kimi K3 got released,
Right.
and
Right.
that can also do chip design. So
Right.
cyber security within Mythos, these are emergent fields. Now, again,
Right.
if you do not embrace AI right now, at the end of it, right, you'll be in a struggle to figure out how do I catch up
Right.
and how do I level myself up to other
Right.
folks. So
Right.
uh,
So it's
I
like
can
yeah.
I can also talk through my journey of how I implemented. But you had a question, Amit?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were saying something.
Actually, in fact, I was coming down to the same thing that uh, it would be great that we take this through your journey, because when it comes down to say embracing AI, so everybody is talking about it, right? In conferences, every leader is shouting at the top of their voice and mentioning that talent is our key, right? And we want to invest in talent, we want to groom talent, and we want to be the most AI native org,
Hmm.
okay, in on the planet. My question is, what defines an AI native? What is native? I mean, I will would also say that we use this word native, augmented, assisted. I don't know how many other terms are there which we plaster with AI. But one thing which I have learned through my personal journey is that it's a mindset shift first. However, you may talk about agents and tools and Llama Index and I don't know what. It's first your own mindset, because as I believe that the older you get, the harder it is to switch. The fresher you are already in the flow in AI, because these my daughter talks to, she doesn't want to type anymore, right?
Yeah.
She want to talk to Gemini and get her problem solved. She'll say, Daddy, why should I write type? It's so slow, right? I
Hmm.
can just speak my mind to it. So they are already that they want to stop typing, and we
Yes.
are in that generation where we did everything from logo to basic to everything, and now we are at this point. So we are, I think we have had a huge hangover of solving the problems. I would now say the old way, because we have seen the good part, and then we saw the struggle part, which we always wanted that oh somebody else could do it. So you would hire juniors and you would delegate it to them, and okay, you go into it. So it's nothing but the baggage keeps on passing. That junior becomes senior, and that again keeps on passing, and then somebody does the support part. But I think the way AI has coming in, and as you said, it gives you, it opens up so many, and there is a pressure on everybody that you grow vertically, you pick more, right? And when you grow as seniors, then because we lose touch with tech for such a long time, many a times, and our work mostly becomes managing people, then you and then you say that okay, no, let's go back to that and let's touch the technology which you had might have touched a decade ago, but it is still doable. But that taking that jump, I think for many people it's a big decision and they're scared of. So your story as an individual, how you took it up, because again, a senior person who is pretty senior in industry, but so much enthusiastic about AI, and you've also done some experiments, you have done made some tools. Why not you talk through, and then let's see some demos and we'll build it through.
Absolutely. But you made a good point. So it is hard for us to change. Now, why is it hard for us to change? Because we have become comfortable with the way of doing things, right? But then change was always there. The pace has increased. Let me give an example. So the typing example, right? Earlier, the codes were written in assembly language. You used to write x86 instruction set and so on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now you have higher level language where you type in language that is close to English.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to. Now you provide a prompt. So that has been evolving. So it's not that typing code is important. No, we are communicating, right? So you need a language.
Yeah.
Communicating to machines is a different language. Now how you
Right.
communicate has changed. That is all. And it is not questioning about why should I move to the next direction. It's about understanding the evolution.
Mm.
Understand that it has already always been evolving.
Mm.
There's
True.
nothing that is static as such, right? And
Right.
it's just that what you see in January 2026, the capability of models that you saw, right? From 2020 to 2026 January, um, models evolved to have
Right.
interesting conversations, and I can walk you through some of the use cases. In 2024, when I started adopting, right, I used it for majorly research to
Right.
understand what are the industry trends, to how do I understand this particular term, what is contract based
Yeah.
commercials in a company like Avis, and so on.
And you would be
From
mostly
there,
on portal. You will be on portal. You will be using web portal at that time,
yeah, web
right?
portal at that point in time. Then I got to know that it can also do interesting change observations. Let's say, is there any VP who has changed roles in this list of companies? So it could actually navigate through websites and then give you an answer. So I'm like, okay, additional capabilities. But
Mm.
then the additional capabilities accelerated as time went on. From Jan 2026 to where we are in July 2026. Oh my God, there's a fundamental shift. You can do almost everything in AI.
Yeah.
So that way, if I tell you how I got started, let me share my screen again.
Yeah. Yeah. So as you do that, uh,
Huh.
uh, my experience with it, like this PPT, which is if you can just again put up that PPT there. Now it feels like history, archaic, prehistoric, right? The way we built it, the way we created it, the
Hmm.
ideas still remain human, but the way
Yeah.
to create the entire grunt of clicking, clicking, clicking is
Hmm.
simply vanishes now.
Absolutely. Even for me to create a PPT like this, right? I depend on AI. The only challenge I foresee is how do I make the PPT not look like it's AI made?
Exactly. Humanizing. The humanizing
Yeah.
is something which I'm really struggling with that and people becomes it's I don't know, it's sort of a trap or something. You simply say, okay, get some outcome and then you ship. So I say, like, hold that gating is so important because if it becomes so frictionless, you're not owning anything, and customer ultimately will hold your neck. Okay, you said this in your proposal, right? So you're giving that,
Hmm.
right? You're giving that discount, right? And
Yeah.
you're caught there.
Yeah.
So
You
it's
got
a
there.
it's a huge thing where people are simply slipping away and say, no, that's disaster. Please don't do that. At least that's the human step where you should slow down.
Where your clients become smart is trying to figure out AI slop in your work. And if
Exactly.
there is AI slop, they will recognize. So
They'll
the only way to understand that you've learned is to ensure that your work does not look like AI slop. The client should not feel that it is AI made. And that
that's
is where your contribution comes in, the humanizing part.
very much, very much. And I have heard from so many leaders that clients now actively look for things where they say, "This looks like AI. What's your part?"
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think we humans are becoming better and better at understanding any AI slot. It's like very visible. Oh, it's a slot, or no, it has a human angle. Like the way people writing posts. Many posts sound so robotic that you simply pass, right? And there are something which will simply hold you. Grammatical mistakes, I actually look for grammatical mistakes in people's responses in our
Hmm.
work.
Yeah,
So
good
okay,
to
is
have
it
grammatical mistakes,
good to
but
have,
not
good to
not
have
just at
firing
that
mistakes?
level. The point is the clients are right. So
That's
the Gemini that you have or the Claude Opus that you have is the same for you and me. So
yeah.
if you develop something in Opus, a deck in Opus, I can do the same thing as well. Anyone in the world can do the same thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
where's your
yeah,
contribution?
yeah,
I can
yeah,
just pay for tokens. Why you?
yeah,
And that's a
yeah.
valid ask.
True. That's true. That's true. So keeping that in mind, I think we can switch over to that your ChatGPT, your journey. Let's walk through that.
Yeah. So 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah,
Where did
no.
my browser go? Huh. So I used to do this kind of research earlier. So let's
Mm,
say for a commercial team in Avis, they say the operation decisions are driven by contracts. Can you expand on what does that exactly mean? How can and how can analytics and AI help? Could you list out all the roles and commercial team, their decisions? Because all decision starts from understanding a team,
right,
understanding what their daily operations are, what their KPIs are, and what decisions can they take.
right.
So AI can do basic research this way. Okay, now what can I do with this? This is some gyan. Of course, it can enrich you. It's a starting point for your thought process.
By the way, what is
And
this? Which is this entire interface? This tool? Is this some
this
desktop?
is uh, this is Gemini.
Oh,
Okay,
Gemini.
uh, I don't like Gemini at all. But the only reason I'm showing you Gemini is that it's fast. I mean,
Mm,
it is
mm,
super fast, and it's a good critic. That's the only thing that I use Gemini for.
mm, mm.
Um, why does it say my meeting will end in
हाँ,
10 minutes?
this will what we'll do is वो 40 minutes का slot रहता है, ठीक है?
अच्छा,
So 5 minutes बचेगा ना, तो
हाँ,
we'll just come out and rejoin the same meeting again.
okay, cool,
ठीक है?
fair enough.
हाँ, मैं आपको मैं I'll raise the point, I'll raise the hand, ठीक है?
Okay.
चल.
So uh, this is where we get started, and what you can do with this is something that I can show you. But
हम्म,
what eventually happened is, see, I started building prototypes,
हम्म,
and super successful. I mean, it works better than a deck. If I have a call, I can go with the prototype and so on. But the AI bills also started climbing. So my AI cost was twice my grocery cost on a monthly basis. And then I try to figure out how do I actually cost effectively do it. And this is something that I have been learning that if you have a constraint, you will learn much faster. So
very
it's better to create a constraint saying that how do I reduce my bills by, let's say, 1/10? Is
yeah,
it even possible? And that forced me to understand the workings of AI. What
yeah,
should I optimize in my workflow in
yeah,
order to make the cost 1/10? And what I understood is in an AI, the more context that you throw, so this is the attention curve, right? So let's say you have a long forming conversation with an AI, you keep
mm,
on giving it tasks, right? You take time to build enough material for the same topic.
mm,
What eventually happens is that what it remembers really well is your system prompt, instruction set, and all, and the latest conversation that you had. The context in the middle will be harder and harder for LLM to
mm,
extract out of. Now, how
mm,
does an LLM work? So, 1 second. It's a static model.
mm,
It's a static brain as such. It does not have a state of mind as such.
mm, mm,
So what you do is you throw a prompt at it, right? Let's say, okay, escape. Sorry. Let's say you throw a prompt at it and you ask it, let's say, I have this file.
mm,
Can you search for something? Right.
mm,
Now, your prompt is broken down into your command, your prompt.
mm.
So use a prompt. And then you have your system prompt plus your
Right,
additional context.
right.
Okay.
So when we say user prompt, in user prompt we give the AI a lot of say references. I say okay, check this file, read this file, go to that folder. So those physical artifacts become part of user prompt, or those would be part of context. How do you see
So
that?
what happens is that LLM has broad capabilities. So
Hmm.
in multi-model model
Yeah.
models and all, you have multiple experts. Kimi K3
Correct.
has about 820 experts as such. You need to
Hmm.
reach out to a specific set of experts to get
Hmm.
your work done.
Correct.
So the coding agent that you used. Let's say this is a coding agent that I use, stage
Right.
wise, one of the coding agents.
Mm-hmm.
It has to redirect it to perform a particular role.
Mm.
So that's the reason your prompt is then processed into a system prompt that defines the role of the particular agent.
Mm.
And for it to perform incremental activities, you provide context to it.
Right.
Now, let's say I have 5 text files, and you say, summarize all these text files and bringing back to me. So a user prompt and a system prompt about the role is sent to the LLM.
Right.
And the LLM is like, okay, I can do it. Give me a list of files. So it hands hands a set of commands. Use this command back, and your terminal will execute it. It will say, okay, give me a list of files that you want to. And your terminal agent will then say, hey, here's a list of files.
Right.
Okay. Now, it is the same prompt. It is being sent in again, because as soon as it sends back, right, LLM will go back to state 0.
Mm.
LLM will not remember any of your context.
Correct.
So you bring in that whole conversation again. Okay, you
Yeah.
remember we spoke about this, plus this was the response that
Right.
you
Right.
had,
Right. Right.
plus
Right.
this is the set of this thing. So it will then be like, ha, baat kiya tha, and it will process it further and then forget. So
Yeah.
that is how it works. Now, because of which, for a single prompt to be executed, right, there'll be 20 back and forth
Right.
that happens.
Right.
And in every back and forth, the context will increase. So
Mm.
ये बात हुआ था, plus the incremental, the file names, the file structure, the content of each file, and so on. So the more and more that you have a conversation around, and let's say I ask it to create another set of files and all, you're still carrying that context of 5 files, right? And it will slowly forget, but then you're actually passing the same set of 5 files content in every conversation. So
Right.
in every prompt, right, the size of the token, the size of the context increases
Keeps on
exponentially.
going on.
Huh.
Mm.
Now, what happens because of that? So if you look at pricing comparison, LLM kana, so $5 input. Now you're feeding that input in every call. So your cost will multiply. I need
Mm.
to reduce it, right?
Right.
So, but there is another problem which also works in your favor, which is something called a context rot.
Mm.
The more you stretch a conversation, the dumber your model gets.
Mm.
So it's called a needle in a haystack problem. So let's say I start with a conversation, right? And I say needle one, and then continue the conversation, and I say needle two. Then I continue the conversation, say needle three. And after 1,000 needle conversations, right? And if I ask it, how many needles did I talk about? It
Mm.
will have a hard time remembering and
Exactly.
counting backwards. So your
Exactly.
context is not a database. It is
Mm.
a fuzzy image for the model.
Mm.
It's a vectorized image where it
Mm.
tries to figure things
And
out. Yeah,
gets fuzzier over time. It gets
it
fuzzier
gets
as the
fuzzier
length.
over time. A
Mm.
lot of research says that for the first 100K context window, right, it is reasonably stable. And after 100K, even if your model has 1 million context window, it gets into a erratic zone and unreliability zone where it starts refusals, hallucinations, and other issues.
Right.
So when you
Right.
code and all, right, the
Right.
issues that you face, that some modules are not built, or there are errors in the assumption. Sometimes it even assumes that this is a Unix workspace and not a Windows workspace that I'm
Right.
using, and it will
Right.
pass on the wrong comments.
Right.
uh, GPT 5.6 Sol recently said, right, it was trying to delete the home variable, it
Yeah.
deleted the home folder directly. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
things like that happen because
Yeah.
you're utilizing
Mm.
the context space beyond 100K or
Yeah.
200K. Up to
Yeah.
200K is fine, which is
Right.
if I actually cut all my conversations to
Right.
100K or 200K,
Mm.
I will solve this problem, which is context that is lost plus the context rot, and I
Mm.
will save in money. Now, what
Interesting.
does it actually mean for me to be able to do that?
Mm.
For me to be able to do that, it means that every conversation should be planned well enough, and
Right.
I plan it in phases: phase one,
Right.
phase two, phase three, phase four, so that after phase one, I can clear the context and say, okay, we have done this. Here's a summary output. Let's walk through phase 2 and
Right.
phase 3 and phase 4. You get fantastic solutions that way.
I'm trying to relate this to the conversations I have. So still lot part of my conversations happens through the interactive terminal Cloud Code. And then what I have seen is I've genuinely seen this. For example, some problems where uh, I had to do deep thinking, which means
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm working on a problem statement which may require multiple, say, schools of thought. Say, trying to solve a context engineering problem for my
Mm-hmm.
own work where I have my work spread out in Google Drive. I mean, that's what happens, right? Your team is on OneDrive or Google Drive, and your all their work is splattered across. Like we
Mm-hmm.
humans, we always try to, as leaders, we try to enforce some structure. Hey, follow this structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But very quickly it fizzles off, and as humans, we are terrible at following structure or following rules, and suddenly that structured folder becomes a swamp,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
when I'm trying to say have conversations over, the conversations are splattered multiple places. So in the conversations where I have not gone much, where the conversation ended up early, I mean somewhere
Mm-hmm.
around 100K context size, and then say I launched a new conversation and I learned this trick that I'll go to .cloud/projects and I'll pull out the JSON-L files, which is nothing but the memory, and I'll dump it here. As you said, yaad hai wo kiya tha. So you just give
Mm-hmm.
it will go through
Yeah.
the conversation, memory will be back, right? And it'll say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready. I have seen better results in my follow-up task rather than the other one where I have really gone long. It's like I got into that mode zone and I was doing and doing, and I said, no, I still want to go, and the context really became big, and that memory file became some 18 MB, 19 MB, and that 19 MB is huge. So getting back that context, it basically started performing poorly, the
Yeah.
follow-up conversation. So it's
Yeah.
like chunking my conversations deliberately helped me do the follow-up tasks better rather than having very long form conversations. I actually could not, the follow-up extraction was poorer. That's what something I was trying to come up.
So the problem that is happening is when you have a lot of files that is spread out, right? Number one is these are decisions that humans can't do well. So you
Yeah,
trust your Claude and all to structure it for you. Now,
yeah,
when the structure becomes large, right, you need to set up a new process. What
yeah.
ends up happening is if you do not provide LLM a context in terms of what conversations are where. So let's say we spoke about pharmaceutical industry today. Tomorrow we spoke about retail, and you keep it in a single place, right? Now, tomorrow if you say that, अरे याद है उस दिन वो बात किया था. Now, if I have to go through the pharma, retail, and all of that again, not a great thing. But then, if you have a charter of we spoke about pharma on this day, retail this day, and so on, here is your repo map.
Hmm,
All it requires is a repo map so that it knows where exactly should I pick up from,
hmm.
what has been done till now, a summary of all that, not
Yeah,
just summary of documents, the summary
yeah.
of the end state. That
Right,
works
right.
better.
Yeah,
And the more you try to reduce the context window, the better
right.
solutions that you build.
Hmm.
So
This makes sense. Hmm.
uh, what I have also done is I've also created this thing, vibe coding kit for you for free. So what this does is typically it highlights the same thing. No memory between sessions, wrong type, forgotten decisions, done without running. So if you have all of these, how do I structurally save it? So
Right.
I created a contract mechanism for it to automatically be able to do it and
Hmm.
verify the work and then create a summary. So it has a feedback loop. It has a quality test once you move from one phase to another. And how do you summarize one phase and then move to the next phase? By reducing the context size and providing only those information that it requires. You might see that, right? If you come back to the same conversation and follow up with Claude, it will say, let me read all your files again. Let me go through what files exist.
Hmm.
Need not do that. It need not do that at all. So you
Hmm.
create a file called repo readme first. So if I
Right.
um huh, test project. So in this, right, it has so many files. All you need to do
Right.
is dump it into your project. And
Hmm.
then I have an infographic which will tell you how to actually use it, how to set
Hmm.
it up and use it.
Hmm.
The idea being uh, there's a thing called repo map read first. So it will
Hmm.
force the agents to read this file. It's a
Hmm.
repository map,
Hmm.
and the repository map will just say top level say क्या repository structure है.
Hmm.
This is what Claude is looking for when it actually goes through all your files, right? It actually
Hmm.
does it bottom up. So it goes through all your files and creates a repo map. So
Hmm.
instead, at every stage, why don't I create a repo map so that it doesn't
Hmm.
need to do that process? I save time, I save money as well in this process, while
So,
accuracy and all is what you require.
so this brings me to a point. So I'm trying to do something similar because I'm also I'm faced with this problem right now where my team we have kept a Google shared drive. We are on Google Workspace and we have kept a shared drive. And in that shared drive, we've created folders for different teams, sales, ops, right, marketing. And within that folder, they are maintaining their own work. They are maintaining decks there. They're maintaining, say, templates there, say marketing. If it is marketing, they'll maintain creatives, they'll maintain blogs. Maybe
Mm,
there's a lot of video processing happening, so downstream videos are being kept there. They keep campaigns information there. They keep reports there, right? So they are trying to maintain their old sales is maintaining their own set of folders. Content has a sort of a content is mostly on GitHub repositories, and the outcome of contents flow into our Google Drive, and there we want that content to sit, right?
right.
But now coming down to that, when we were early, we were less folders always, so everybody remembered things. But
Mm,
now, as the files have grown, the folders now I say, okay, guys, bring some structure. But I have been just saying. But then I thought that if it is about folder structure, remembering its context, now we have AI which I can use to kind of do all that remembering stuff. And for me, it could be just like I can launch Claude Code on my root, and I can simply use it as Google search. And okay, I want to do this. I want to create a brochure. I mean, and help me with, and it will point you to the latest template which is out there. It will point you to the prompt which you should use, and it points to basically this sort of a map where your files, your important files, for example, any brand related thing happens, it points to a single file which is sitting in some design folder, which is our root design guideline, right? So I am
correct.
right now at the point where I'm thinking, okay, this looks like a database where I have to do indexing of this database,
Yeah, yeah.
right? I have to do indexing, and this claude.md is a way where I do indexing. But then I think GitHub always had this README,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
.md, which was always an indexing for us humans, right? Like when you go to any, if I go to Sudarshan's, yours, this GitHub which you shared, how do I know how do I need to start, right? README
Mm.
was exactly for that. And I think with Claude.md coming in or any of that agents.md coming in, it should solve that problem. But I would like to know because I'm still not there. I'm just starting to think about, okay, should humans touch my folder structure or let only AI touch the folder? Humans should only be the layer top of it, so that I should be even. If, so, for example, I say that okay, I had a podcast with Sudarshan and I have a tracker where I update it. So I
Mm.
don't update it. I simply tell Claude that okay, that tracker update that Sudarshan podcast is done, and it updates that. So I never touch that Google spreadsheet. AI touches it. Versus, I let people do whatever they want and then let AI kind of structure it, clean up the mess. What's your thought process around that?
So AI is fantastic at telling you what to do. Now, when your content expands exponentially, how do you stop your index from expanding exponentially? I
Yeah.
think that is a summarization of what you're saying as well. Now,
Mm-hmm.
think of it this way. Um, if indexing means indexing the entire content of it, now your index expands exponentially as and when
Yeah.
your context expands exponentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I make it less exponential? You have two to
Mm.
three stages of indexes. So
Mm.
you index the files, okay, file names, I would say. Then for each file name, you have an index of content. right? Or the index of content headers, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
each context header index will have index of content. So make it
Hmm.
multi-stage so that when your content grows, your first and second index does not grow as fast.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
And one of those things, right? So I've created something called since gotcha's learnings over here, which means that I've automated the process of it recognizing that the LLM has made a mistake, and then log it into your index in terms of
Hmm.
what mistakes have I made and how not to make it so that I don't make it again. Now,
Hmm.
mistakes will
Hmm.
be made a lot. I know that this repository will grow exponentially. So I
Right.
created an index of learnings.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this points
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
an index of all the learning so that it can easily identify timestamp related issues, UI
Hmm.
states,
Hmm. Hmm.
UTF-8, the where clause issues and all that. So it
Hmm.
knows that if I'm using where clause, probably I should quickly reference this and get it. So I'm
Hmm.
creating
Hmm.
an
Hmm.
index of index in that case.
Right, right. I think this again beautifully connects to the idea of clustered. I have cluster indexing again going back to,
Right,
because the more I see this, I have a database background. I have worked with databases indexing, and the whole idea of indexing was to make search better, right? In your
right,
table, which has billions and billions of records. Uh,
right.
and if you see each file here, right, as a data point, each
Hmm.
file in the folder. Let me share my screen and let me
Sure,
show
sure.
you, show you how does it look in mine.
So the
Um,
so the
hmm,
interesting thing is, see, when RAG systems and all are being discussed, right?
right.
Google uh, launched OKF, which is an MD file based repository system. I mean, they've just simplified it. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing is, unless the application demands it, you don't need to overcomplicate. In fact,
Right,
your
right.
LLM can tell you the structure that it needs for it to be faster. All you need to do is when you run your Claude, just see where is it spending a lot of time. If it says
Hmm,
reading this and all that, then why are
hmm,
you reading this? Why are you taking so much time? So
hmm,
you
hmm.
identify where it's like you're talking to another person, right? Where's your bandwidth going?
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
it'll tell you.
And you have to be a little. I think I have to force myself to be a little impatient with AI. That okay.
Yeah, very much required. It's a normal human. I mean,
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
assume it to be a normal human.
I have to be that cranky boss that I want it now, like in the
Yeah,
next 10 minutes.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Got
And
it.
working with AI is like pair programming
Yeah.
with someone who reports to you.
Right, right. You can see my screen, right?
Yeah,
So,
I see your screen.
yeah, so this is where like we have like our entire folder structure. So earlier people were working in their own My Drives, right? In your Google Drives, and they would have their files, their own set of doing things, and there was a lot of blind spots
Hmm.
to kind of get context, and there's a lot of to and fro. This person sharing this file on Slack, this person sharing that file there. You download, you have 10 files, you have like dumps and dumps. If I can show my download, I think everybody's download would look like this, right?
Yeah.
You just can't make like what is out there,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
right? But the point here is that then we said, okay, I had two problems. One was that I had to consolidate the standard, I had to standardize the work of my content team, because they work on multiple technologies. So they are on, one person is preparing content for agentic AI engineering, other person is preparing content for DevOps and something. But there is a collective knowledge being created, and that's something which happens in our GitHub repo, and we've created a mono repo. This is a mono repo where anything and everything about our content is happening, right? And
But what I also see is you have your base files in the same structure as your MD files. My problem with that is
mm,
LLMs are good at reading something,
mm,
and they find it super difficult to read something like docx. Docx is a zip container which has 3 to 4 files within it and so on,
exactly,
right?
exactly,
So
exactly. So yeah, so that's the point where I mean that where was the struggle which I had to clear for my team, is that please stop PPT, docx, don't give me docx, because it was out of habit.
yeah,
It was a habit problem which I had to crack forcefully, that
yeah,
please give me MDs or HT, please give me something which is AI friendly. Don't give me something which is human friendly,
yeah.
right? That should be
Not,
my
not even HTML because it has to go through a tagging structure for it to get a context. MD is the best for this.
uh, Right. I had a different thought also here about
Yeah,
HTML. I
yeah.
read somewhere about Anthropic mentioning that HTML is again I mean, it didn't compare MD and HTML, but
Hmm,
it mentioned HTML in a lot of context. For example, HTML with information has a lot of context. It will tell
hmm,
this is bold, this is light, this is anchor, this is this, this is that. So that extra context information is also there in HTML, and I've seen that HTML has been excellent outcomes when it comes to, say, creative things, right?
hmm,
Say, I mean, HTML has helped me to create animations now.
hmm,
I can narrate it a story, but when the story what goes into HTML has to be pure MD, right? Anything, as you said, the base files, right? What is my
hmm.
base? The knowledge, where the knowledge sits, that has to be MD. And I had to force this to my salespeople, to my marketing people, that there is something called MD. Learn it today, right?
Right. Hmm,
And all your brainstorming, for example, any call which we have, so what we do is that any call which we have, we put it into, so that we have, this is the first conversation, we bring in the voice note and we dump it in that one engagement folder, right?
hmm.
And that voice note, the recording happens, and then we put it on Slack gives a nice transcription, right? I'm not even using whisper model locally, and in some cases where it is not available, I pull out from audio.
So
Okay.
Whisper के जगह पे you can use this thing Handy. Handy is open source as
Handy.
fast as
Okay.
Whisper.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
Excellent.
it has a streaming model as
Mm,
well.
mm, mm. Because I also need one, I need the extraction, and then second, I need the timestamps to the like three decimal places. Because when video editing happens, that matters. That where this speaker is starting
Have
or
you
end.
tried Buzz? Buzz.
No.
Buzz is a software which will
Mm,
transcode all your audio, video, and all. If it's an hour or 2 hours video, right? It'll
right.
transcribe in 30 seconds.
Okay. Oh,
It'll transcribe
amazing.
video in
So
30 seconds
speed.
along with time-stamped this
Mm,
thing,
mm. So
SRT
coming
extraction.
So coming back to this, so this is something, this is the way women trying to, and my primary question is that, say somebody comes in, okay, and people always, it's such a repeat pattern. I myself do it many times, and I observe that we're wasting so much of time waiting on each other. At the
Hmm,
rate, Sudarshan, are you available? Right? We
hmm.
are on remote work, so it's not that I'm sitting next to you and they are global teams. Are you available? And by the time you are available, it's 3 hours down, and then you
Yeah,
ask that question that, okay, I needed that file, where is that file, can you tell me, I need to use that for something.
yeah, yeah.
Instead, I simply go and launch it at the root and say, okay, I have this problem, help me. And it gives you, okay, I say create skills registry, and then it points me to the right skill and points me to the right references, gives me the right prompt. And then you say, okay, you just eyeball it, confirm it, and say, okay, let's proceed. I don't need to wait on anyone. How do you see this, me solving it?
Very easy. In fact, I would have wanted to show you my work laptop. The thing is, I created a PPT search engine for,
Hmm.
so I have accumulated about 25 GB of decks, tens of thousands of decks, right? So
Yeah.
the idea is if there is a new team member, they'll keep asking me, Sudarshan, have you done something in, pharma commercial, in incentive management, and so on, right? I'll not be available to answer that question. And it would just be one or two slides that they want.
Yeah.
So I've created an app called PPT Search Engine, um, which is just a front-end application hosted in our ecosystem. The idea is AI can help you develop an application which will use all the fast search skills and so on. So especially for decks, right? You need an OCR layer and then a search layer as well as an indexing layer as such, so
Right.
that you can search for, let's say, something with the commercial, something with the table, something which looks like solution architecture and so on. So I have checkbox which says I need an architecture slide and a search box which says pharma. Pharma architecture, you get a architectural slide for that at a slide level.
Right.
So AI helps you break down. So how do you number one, index your PowerPoint files? Then how do you slice PowerPoint files into individual
Mm.
slides? How do you then extract information from each of the slides and then index it according to its properties?
Right.
Then merge all of that into a user interface.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
probably I can send you a couple of screenshots. But the point is, all of these can be doable in 2 hours, 3 hours time
Right,
using.
right. So this Sudarshan, actually, this discussion can go on, and this gives me a lot of pointers, because I started thinking in terms of indexing, and I started thinking about a broader idea, where uh, this is acting just like a database, right? You
Hmm,
have tables, you have attributes, you have records, you
hmm,
have relationships. And when you think about this entire folder and references as a graph, right? That's what is talked about a lot more. Not a
right.
graph, rag, I don't know what all. Ultimately, it's all about references, attributes, and how do you say, for example, you put a query in, how does it touches the right points in that by
Hmm,
returning you that search result, right?
hmm.
So indexing would always be helpful, but where I get thinking is that indexing, I know database indexing is a very expensive process, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when you do indexing, data is being moved here and there, data copies are being made. Basically, a system which has gone little unstructured, you have to restructure it time to time,
correct,
right?
correct.
So I have two questions. First thing is that the first pass, the very first time when you're doing, right, they have no knowledge, right?
Hmm.
How do you go about it? And the second, and then how do you take the incremental passes and think about making a system? Maybe is it like a cron job which runs and it kind of refreshes everything time to time, or how do you see that?
It's a event work. So again, I am tempted to talk about multiple dimensions. So how do you actually build an app? That is the first place where I would want to go. But then when talking about individual entities, right? And this is what I
Right.
follow while building anything, is that a cron job is done when the content is static and a periodic function which
Hmm.
changes everything has to be done. Now,
Right.
indexing is not such a static activity. Index is an incremental activity. So it should be
Right.
event based. Whenever
Hmm.
something changes, you add something and manipulate files. Never a
Like
cron
git
job,
commits or
according to me.
something. Like git commits or
Exactly.
something.
It's like a commit. Cron
Hmm.
job is only for a scheduled task
I
which
understand.
changes the entire system somehow or
Right.
grabs something from the system somehow for
Hmm.
reporting purposes.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
intent is different. Accordingly, your mechanism should change. And this is
Hmm.
where our fundamental understanding helps,
Hmm.
which AI will need to be guided a lot, I
Hmm.
would say.
Hmm.
Even the
True.
HTML MD comparison, right? I'm inclined to argue with you, all right? Mainly because in my benchmark, what I saw is, see, okay, what is an MD file? Why MD file in the first
Hmm.
place, right? It was the best balance at earlier, right? It was the best balance where we could understand and the
System
LLM
can
model could also not
also
struggle.
understand.
So
Like a common agreement between the two.
exactly. We
Right.
can't see a vector database. I mean, we
Right.
just can't comprehend. MD was a good
Right.
balance.
Right.
Now, HTML is one step towards us. Now, why I'm saying
Correct.
that is it has a corruption issue. What do I mean by a corruption issue? If I edit the HTML file for any other purpose, it'll add CSS styling and all of
Correct.
those.
Correct.
Now the LLM has to figure out, okay, do I need to understand the CSS styling? Do I need to
Yeah.
then parse through it? It'll and the smarter model that you use, the smarter it'll try to figure out. अरे तेरा CSS में problem है. Let me
Hmm.
start fixing it again, and it'll overcomplicate the CSS, and
Hmm.
it'll start
Hmm.
to solving the wrong problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
So linking images into an MD can also be done. I mean, the net
Yeah.
structure of
Hmm.
MD is more or less the same. It will create a folder for the images and it will link images in the MD. You can
Hmm.
have rich context
Hmm.
in MD.
No,
Uh,
I do that. See, my point where I put in HTML was it was more about the human side. Again, as I said, it moves towards the human side,
yeah, it
right?
moves towards the human side.
Yeah. So because see, my challenge comes in because in my team I have tech, non-tech both. I have
Hmm.
kind of people who are very visual first, right? My team also, like especially if I go to sales and all, they're very
Convert
visual.
MD to convert MD to HTML. So create an automated layer, a
Hmm.
non-AI layer that converts your MD to HTML.
Hmm.
So, because MD to HTML is a very simple static process. When I say
Hmm.
static process, you'll require a little, I mean, a bit of Python libraries.
Right.
Conversion happens, but don't let HTML, sorry, AI touch HTML.
HTML.
You don't
Right.
need to do that.
See, when our touch points of HTML is when I say suppose I have to what we have done is that on our websites for creating the web pages, right?
Hmm.
So web pages mockups. So our
Hmm.
marketing person herself does the mockups of the web
Ah.
pages, right? To create that mockup, the instruction, the structure, everything comes as MD, right?
Hmm.
But the template which she has
Hmm.
to follow, that is
Right.
a last successful, well received HTML, right?
Hmm.
And she says that refer to that HTML, pick up the design, whatever aesthetics or something, and then and use that as a template, look and feel and everything, and then do it. So that part is still where HTML is being part of the system,
Hmm. Got it.
right?
So if you intelligently use it, right, you
Mm.
can make it work. But then I would say refrain from AI not touching HTML because there's a point of CSS
So
polluting the whole thing.
exactly. So we did one more step there. What we did was that, okay, if I am referencing this HTML for aesthetics, then we pulled out all the aesthetics guidelines and we
Yeah.
created another MD. Okay.
Huh.
So which became our design guideline MD. Okay.
Huh. Fair
But
enough.
then, but then we only say, okay, now create the website or whatever, create web design. It was struggling to get to a feel of that other HTML because of that HTML having all those tags, this and yes, the CSS. The CSS had some color designs and everything. So
Right.
it still had to have and when we passed on that reference HTML, it came up because it had to just copy.
Correct. So what
Okay.
I
So
also do is, let me show you something interesting.
mm-hmm.
In the pursuit of reducing cost, right? What I also did was I thought there's a lot of entities where I don't want the LLM to waste time.
Mm,
So design being one of it, representation being one of it, right?
right.
So I created a curated set of designs and
Mm-hmm.
asked it to reference, let's say a signal matrix design. So I have a
Right.
preview associated. So it
Right.
looks like this, right?
Yeah.
So I have standard representations. It knows how to use individual charts and so on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the entire representation can be standardized and it need not manufacture one. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what
huh.
it is doing is it is still referencing this HTML to know that what should be the look and feel of the outcome,
Correct.
right?
Huh.
Mm.
And the best practices for design, how
Yeah.
not to make it a slop. So
Yeah. Yeah.
anti-AI slop conditions and all, how do you actually show number formatting? All of that
Mm.
is defined over here.
Right.
So this is the last stage. When you reach the representation layer for the LLM,
Right.
it should not process, it should just execute, saying
Mm.
that,
Right.
okay, I have a design, I have the design guidelines, let me output this. So that way you
Mm.
can use it. And
Right.
when designing a new prototype, I don't want it to recreate a design. So I have
Right.
design variations that I
Right.
have.
Right. So
Uh,
basically, you have reduced the search space, you reduce its creative space. That okay, you don't think much. Here it is where your references are there. This is what you need to follow. Just you follow it and do it. Like as you tell your junior. Dimag
Correct.
mat lagao apna and then simply use it.
हाँ, दिमाग लगाना ही है. Then I
Hmm.
created another library called cutting edge features.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Now, there are multiple superb ways of representing the same data in a different format.
Hmm.
So I created a collection of it. Again, MD file is important. I never pass the HTML file here, but HTML file is for me to understand the
Right.
different components. So
Hmm.
smart alert prioritizer, how should it look like? How should it look
Right.
like in different designs and so on.
Right.
So I have collated some 100 plus different throwaway generative micro apps. So
Hmm.
and the MD file describes when to use it, which means that
Hmm. Hmm.
every design element, right, needs to be. Let me explain that to you through this thing. Okay. So the purpose, let's say anomaly highlighting. How should I do anomaly highlighting? So purpose is clearly defined. So I can just throw this entire MD file and ask, hey, just check which visuals can be improved through the cutting edge designs,
Hmm.
and it will select the right representation. So
Hmm.
this way, the cost is not impacted a lot, but at least your representation layer, the final effort ROI increases, I would say. So library, you make your presentation layer a set of library items. And this is where open design and all helps you a lot. So
Hmm.
you have open design, which can help you create libraries. So super
Hmm.
easy to do. It's like your Claude design, only that you can
Okay.
use other models other than Anthropic.
Nice. 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 Interesting. Interesting.
So
Yeah, please go ahead.
should I walk you through a process of app making then? The
Yes,
reason is I can show you how I use all of these
no, very
together
much.
in
We
order
should,
to create
yeah,
value.
we should definitely do that, Sudarshan. One thing which I am taking away from this conversation is that you need to invest time in thinking about your workspace. um, and you need to do a good thinking about, and you should take a couple of steps back and take a, say, 10,000 feet view of how you work, right? How, say, I work, and what are the, say, things I'm choosing, what are the repeat patterns which in my work, what are some of the things which I'm regularly looking for, right? And if that becomes a structured, self-aware folder system, I would try to keep it simple, which is indexed, which is searchable, not stale. That as it grows, that knowledge about that system or repository also grows. You took a term repo, something you said, I forgot. Uh,
Repo me read repo read
yeah,
me first something.
exactly.
Repo
Yeah,
map read me.
repo maps. Yeah, repo maps. Yeah, that's what you said. Repo maps. That
Uh,
if I know, it's like your site maps. Like in a website, you have site maps, right? Like how does the website grows in different branches, something like that. Like how this grows, and you see MDs, which means that it has been made AI friendly. So
yeah.
one awareness which I think people need to have is that now the your folder should be made more AI friendly. If you are using AI in the process, you are not using, then not part of the
Right. So
discussion.
because I have so many MD files, I have
Right.
to edit agent.md to say that just read two of the MD files, not all. And
Hmm.
that two MD files will act as a what do you call starting point for everything else.
And it will have, okay, it will
Yeah,
have everything else. Yeah.
interconnection.
Yeah.
And see, two important things as humans as well, right? For us to set better processes, observation, curiosity. These are the two things that we need to implement a lot. The reason I have this and the complex solution is because just started with this. I just collated sins and learnings. As
Hmm.
soon as an LLM started making mistakes, right? I started asking it to collate all the mistakes. And
Hmm.
once I collated all the mistakes, I asked LLM to create a solution for it.
Hmm.
So, is there a way where you can ensure that these mistakes do not happen?
Hmm.
Right. So, that is AI reflecting on its own work. So, I'm forcing AI to think through its own mistakes. And
Right.
this is where through this single file, right, sins, learnings, and gotchas, I created the entire kit. So
Okay.
in your workflow, right, you have a separate skill set. So for that skill set, you catch mistakes in terms of what is going wrong.
Right.
Collate that, and an AI will be able to
It's just like
help you decipher it.
so it's something we tried to do was in our support calls. So support calls, what happens that people are using labs and they solve problems, and time and again issues happen, right?
Hmm.
And what we started doing was that and this was video support. So in that
Hmm.
video support, we had video captured, we had a transcription captured. We started capturing all the errors, and we started putting in, say, just an MD document that this was the issue and this was the error. Because what was happening was, again, it all starts with putting a human there, right?
Hmm.
So, and people need human because people are going through that, say, assessments or something. It's a tense moment, so you need a human there. Okay, yeah, I'm there, I'm going to help you. But to make that human better, because it's something which is very replaceable. One person comes and an intern comes who supports their interns, goes away. So with that intern, the knowledge should never go away. So we thought about making, yeah.
We hate call center exactly because of that. Because call centers are supposed to learn from the mistakes and solve the
Yeah,
mistakes, right? That feedback
exactly.
loop is lost.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like we say, no, next time ये mistake नहीं होना चाहिए, you say,
huh,
right? So but
exactly.
AI is solving for that. That if you log it and AI learns from it, next time it won't happen, right? And my
Huh.
knowledge base is growing every time.
How many operations teams actually look into the feedback log of customer service and so on? The thing is, how many tickets are well logged by customer service? So there are two failure points
True. True.
that
True.
needs to
True.
be fixed.
True. 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 And I think it still brings back to the point that there need to be some bit of a discipline from the human actor here, right? You cannot be happy-go-lucky guy. You are throwing in anything anywhere, and you expecting that somehow that mess will become so structured that you don't have to do anything and agents will. And I think that's a big space evolving where how do you build this entire thing, which I feel is that this is that context layer, right? How do you build that context layer, context engineering when people say, right? How do you engineer the context around, say, the knowledge? Because knowledge has always been there. It is splattered in everybody's laptop across the company, right?
Correct.
So,
So this is where we are required, right? For
mm,
see, we are not yet in that AGI arena. So what you call generalized artificial intelligence is not there,
right,
which means that we are still required to set up processes.
true.
And for that, we need to be smarter and contextualize the model in terms of
Yeah.
the human realities, the workflow realities, even the edge cases, how the customer. So in the initial days, right, 2025, all the AI implemented chatbots that I saw, which are support chatbots of organizations, I could actually ask it to build an app for me and it would build an app for me. So the edge
Amazon's
cases,
first. Yes, I know that. Edge cases, yeah. So it was like an open term, yeah, or it is given for free that go ahead and build your own app there, and it is there
yeah,
in Amazon.
exactly. So it is our role to set up processes
Yeah,
to contextualize an AI for it to automatically
right.
perform a job.
Right. And I think
And
that is where the humans are, we humans are slopping off. Like we are slopping more than AI, I believe.
that's the reason we need to be smart about it by
That's true.
looking at what AI output is and how
Mm,
do I do it in such a way that it
yeah,
comes across as Sudarshan's deliverable, not Claude's deliverable.
very true.
So
Very true. Very
that
true.
narrative cannot be. So if you ask AI to create a narrative, you can spot an AI narrative in 5 seconds. It
I've
will
I've
try to
seen that.
make it grandiose. One
I
problem, one solution, everything solved. It tries to dramatize every single sentence. It's so
yeah, it is suddenly I have tried to tone it down, but no, it's like
no.
orchestra starting or a movie starting, and then the director is saying, okay, now with all that tantrums, it comes back, and
Uh,
that is where it
You know
I think
why? Because
yeah,
where did AI learn from? Not from our real
us,
conversations. It learned from Twitter conversations and all,
yeah,
where
yeah,
140 characters had to be dramatized. No,
yes,
it has learned from dramatizations of so many human conversations that it has generalized that this is how humans communicate.
exactly.
And
But we
if we
know how
expose our work to that kind of a human, its understanding of a human is very different from the actual human.
actually true.
It never knows how a hacker would think. It never knows how someone else would think, right? So
Yeah, exactly. It is basically taught being the good guys, the good things, the shinier things, right? The the what works in marketing.
what's in marketing? Correct.
So and that's what happens, right? Your LLMs are suffering with amnesia, right? Every
हाँ
time
हाँ
you're saying it switches, kya? Who are you?
exactly.
So this one
So
idea people understand, I think they will and it will unlock a lot of understanding about where it is very inefficient.
yeah. And we have to acknowledge that LLMs are not perfect. It is imperfect in a lot of ways, like any human. So,
Exactly.
if you switch over from one LLM to another, so there are a lot of cutting edge LLMs, right? So, I'll just give you a small. Let me share my screen again. You see my screen, right?
Uh, just have to change your name.
Ah,
मैं कर रहा हूँ छोड़ दो. Yeah, go ahead.
okay. So, huh. Uh, types of LLMs that are available and the personalities that I saw, right? Number
Hmm.
one is if you want things mostly perfect, right? There are good models.
Hmm.
I mean, what it takes to run them, you can't run them locally at all for proprietary reasons as well as the size reasons,
Hmm.
right? So you have your Fable, absolutely fantastic model that I saw, right? Then
Hmm.
you have Opus, Sol, all of these are fantastic models, makes very less mistakes, but I don't think it's worth the cost for individual users for improving
Hmm.
ourselves and all that.
Yeah.
You can get away with a lot less.
Hmm.
So, that brings me to another topic that I haven't discussed as such.
Yeah.
Now, cost reduction that in
Yeah.
that topic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
what we typically ignore is that there's another pricing that you see over here, cached price, right? Cached input. This is not taken into consideration. We think about all of these input and output costs, but cached price is also important. So when you're building something, if you can utilize this cached input price rather than your input price, it dramatically reduces your cost, like dramatically. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
this, let me give you an example. DeepSeek, all right? So this one instance, there are 119 million tokens that I burnt. Out of 119 million tokens, 116 million tokens are cash hit. And the cash hit token cost is 1/10 of your normal cost.
Hmm.
Cash miss cost is your actual token cost that is advertised. And output is your output cost, which is typically much smaller. But the
Right.
largest cost that you'll incur is your input token cost. That's the reason you should not shove context onto LLMs. The
Hmm.
max number of token cost comes from your input cost, token input cost,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
that should be cached for you to take advantage. Now, how do you ensure that it is cached? So for a limited period of time, so right, for from one LLM call to another, if the time frame between hitting those is within, let's say, 90 seconds, 120, depends on the model, it will count as cached. So you have to keep operating with the limited cost in a single phase. So phase wise, finish off the phase as fast as possible in quick succession without bloating the context, then clear context, move on to the phase two, phase three. So this kind of working will dramatically decrease your
Hmm.
API costs.
Amazing.
And with that in mind, see, I burn a lot. So in this month itself, I burnt about across four different models, I burnt about 800 million tokens till date, which is 18th of July.
Right.
And my cost is less than $70 put together.
Right.
And the only reason I can, do that is because I made it a little more efficient in terms of execution. So
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
is one thing that I had forgotten to cover,
Oh,
the
nice. But that's
cached pricing,
interesting.
right?
Very. Yeah.
So yeah. So where was I? I was showing,
Yeah.
Fable Opus Sol. Now, for non-proprietary work that you're doing, for self-improvement and all that, you can get 95% of these in Chinese models. And I actually am a big fan of Chinese models. You have
Yeah.
uh, Kimi K3 that was released
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Fantastic model. I'm just experimenting with the Kimi right now to figure out
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
it's working.
Hmm.
So there's 5x free usage in Kimi. So
Hmm.
I'm
Okay.
writing something interesting over here, creating a course. So it's like I wanted to understand the depth of horoscope, I mean, astrology,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
how does it connect. So all these vague concepts, right? I
Yeah.
want the frontier models to think through,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
straightforward models are not good at figuring out how these are misused, misunderstood, or how can I interpret it correctly. So
Correct. Correct. Hmm.
astrology, WD
Hmm.
Gann's way of
Yeah.
smart trading. So all of those,
Yeah.
I work as personal
Hmm.
projects. So you can use Kimi K3, and another favorite of mine, which I use the most, is GLM 5.2.
DLL. Hmm. 5.2. These are
So
open models, right?
open weight models. Of course,
Hmm.
you can't run them in your
Locally. You have to.
laptop and all. Yeah.
So what's the harness you are using to run this?
So see, the thing is harness based. My favorite harness till now is open code,
Ah.
but there are reasons why I don't use open code a lot. For
Hmm.
example, let me show you this. Z code. I use Z code
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
only and only for the reason that I get 50% extra usage for free
Hmm.
using that.
That's
Uh,
a fair reason.
and Kimi, this thing. So I use Kilo code more or less. Kilo
Ah,
code
okay.
is my second favorite, but I
Hmm.
use Kimi code over here mainly because
Hmm.
they're using 2x usage.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Cloud Cowork is providing me with 2x usage. So for some
Right.
reason, harness is not much important.
Hmm.
The less it drives, see this thing, right? Even for Gita interpretation, I'm like,
Ah.
evaluate Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out what kind of ambiguity. So this is the way I test models. How
You
well
are
does it
asking.
hallucinate? How
You
well
are
does
asking.
it
Yeah.
hallucinate on a task like this, evaluating Bhagavad Gita, trying to figure out where it's managed? And I see that GLM 5.2 does a fantastic this thing. And if I go to manage models, right? See, 150% quota over here,
Mm, mm,
which
mm,
is 50% extra usage. That's the reason I use this a lot.
Interesting.
And there are good task following LLMs as well.
Right.
So if GLM and Kimi or Fable creates a plan for me, the execution models will, my two favorite execution or three favorite execution models are, one is DeepSeek V4 Pro, uh, Mimo Xiaomi's model, Mimo 2.5 Pro, same cost,
Mm,
very nice models, and Minimax M3, very nice models. Super duper cheap. So, for example, Minimax M3, right? Take a $20 plan, code the entire month, and you can't exhaust your quota. It
nice.
is that cheap. For
Mm,
$20, you can go till Delhi, but then, of course, it's not as smart as the other models. So you can never use it for, high complexity tasks. It is
yeah.
always about execution tasks, or if I have to convert all Excel files to MD and so on.
Mm,
In account management and all, what I have to do is I have a lot of Excel files with the what do you call I wouldn't use Chinese models on contract terms and all, but
mm,
in terms of internal staffing and so on, right? Those for those
mm,
I use M3 sometimes because
mm,
it does the conversion part. Image recognition is already there. So if there
mm,
are non-proprietary images that I can summarize and all that, I do this.
Got it. Got it.
And when you use this combination as well, Kimi K3, DeepSeek and all, you can burn up to about billion tokens a month for less than $75.
Interesting. It's really interesting.
Huh. And the way you design the execution of that is, let's say, let me go back to the same example. Let's say commercial team in Avis. Tomorrow
Mm,
I have a meeting to meet the commercial team in Avis. And in 10 seconds in my previous conversation, he just said that my operation decisions are driven by contracts. And the bigger problem is that there are so many contracts and there are such minute decisions that we need to take that we cannot optimize for it. How do I ensure that every contract and the clauses within each contract is simulatable, and how do we do that?
right.
And for me, there are three stages right now. Stage one is, what on earth does it even mean? So if I look at Avis as a business, right? I thought Avis is more or less B2C car rental company. No,
Mm,
they also have B2B, truck rentals and all of that. The
mm,
second part is the maintenance of it, and what should you do with a particular car is based on the contracts. There
mm,
are contract leasing agreements, there are contract maintenance agreements, and so
mm,
on.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
how
mm.
does it even work? What kind of decisions do they take? How does the business work? So those are the questions that I need answers to. Second,
Mm, mm, mm.
who are the stakeholders? So if I build a prototype or if I create a presentation, what is my audience?
Right.
What is their day to day? How do I connect with them?
Mm,
Third is, how should my deck content or even a prototype content should look like? And if I have a day or two, right, it's practically almost impossible. I'll have to, do a night out twice for me to be prepared in day three, and I'll be exhausted for me to present. So that's the
right.
situation. So the way I'll go ahead is, number one, I'll ask Gemini, I get this generic information. And I
Mm,
also ask, could you outline a solution description and all that? It will give me a generic solution.
mm,
What I do is, now let me build context. Now, for
mm.
an LLM to give me answers and give me a prototype, right? I have to align. So it's a pair programming exercise. You
Right.
have a buddy next to you and you try to align expectations. You give him some information, he'll process it intelligently, and he'll
Right.
ask me what he does not know. Right. So let me go through that exercise. Let's say I use StageWise itself. I've just what do you call set up this folder, which is I've
Mm.
created a folder called test project. It was a empty folder. All I did was I downloaded the vibe coding kit, copy pasted these files into test folder. It's a
Right.
generic folder.
Right.
And I'll tell you why I did that, because I wanted to show you a process. Just by writing a couple of MD files, right? You can
Mm.
then establish a process for vibe coding rather than just winging it. Winging it will not fetch you there. It
Mm.
will
Mm.
fetch you slop results.
True.
So then I opened uh, why is it asking so many questions? This is a standard process of just
Mm.
ensuring that the setup is correctly done. I just said just doctor, and it's a a series of tests that it will do. Just is not in its path. Okay, let it fail if it wants to. But then let's go ahead. Let's see. I want to create a prototype demo. The context I have is as follows. Uh, use the content, and I don't need to write all of these. I just
Right.
to show what is happening in the background, right? I'm just writing.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
there's a skill that I have in this called grill me skill.
Mm.
So, and the grill me skill to uh, complete the contextualization. See, for any software developer, right, they would require a PRD, data model, role documents, and so on. So I have automated the process of creating those documents.
Mm.
So once you align with an LLM in terms of building a model, it can create PRDs on its own. You don't
Yeah.
even need to review it. So I'll paste this thing, B2B car rental first conversation. I'll also copy the second conversation. I'll paste it here. Okay. Where's that now? Okay, let's see.
Mm.
So it'll parse through the content. It'll try to analyze it, and then let's see what it asks. Okay. Now it should ask me a series of questions, and it should create a PID out of it. This is where Amit will have to cut because this is gonna take a little bit of time
Mm. I'll just pause
doing
this.
it.
Mm.
To 3 o'clock, they are typically slower.
Mm. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Reason is
So
like there's a lot of pull from within China itself, or
yeah,
okay.
and the costing for Chinese models will be higher in this bracket, 9 to 3
Oh, okay.
typically, or 11 to 3 in some of the cases.
So you do after in the late afternoon and evenings, then you have again you can go with cheap.
Yeah, yeah. If
Mm.
it's evening coding, then it's typically cheaper, right? Okay. So see, it started with the question and answer process. What is a prototype demo concretely? Prototype demo could mean several things. Single role vertical slice. So the revenue management analyst and build their screen end to end. Unified dashboard for all 4 roles. Concept showcase, pitch deck app. So it's telling me I can do 3 types. What do you want to do? So for speed purposes, let's say single core vertical slice. All right. I'll just say A. And the beauty of it is it'll give me options. It's not that I have to think through a lot, but I
Mm.
have to read through its answer and then process it
Correct. Correct. Good thing
till
is
the
that
time you're
yeah, so the good thing is that as part of the skill, the right way of questioning, templating, everything is already fed into it so that it follows that, and it's ensuring that less time is wasted on doing creative things or hallucinating and following the steps which has already been prescribed.
exactly. So what it's trying to do is it has a template for PRD.
Yeah, yeah.
And from the template of PRD, it's trying to work backwards. What do I
Mm.
need in order to
Mm.
get to this template and
Get to
data
that.
model and architecture?
Interesting.
So now, based on the first answer, it's giving me these things, right? All 4 are buildable, but they differ this thing differently. Revenue management analyst, corporate account manager, fleet utilization manager, pricing strategy lead. Let's say a revenue management analyst, yield optimizer itself. Okay. So most compelling decision, this scenario. My recommendation, revenue, tickets, recommending the same thing. So for every question, it has a recommendation. So that's another constraint that you give. So if you ask me a question, tell me your recommendation, because there are questions where I wouldn't know how to process. If
Right.
these are technical questions as such, right, where I would want it to recommend, and the technical recommendations would be dependent on your purpose. So that purpose is being questioned first. Okay, it has locked revenue management. What is the core interaction the users has with the prototype? The scenario is clear: forecast search, auto close, retail channels. But what the user does can take very different shapes. Is it a live simulation autopilot, interactive decision tool, human in the loop based off a dashboard? Is it a what if simulator? So let's say interactive decision, human in the loop. What is it? Option A, live simulation autopilot. Okay, let me go with its recommendation. Okay, I'll with your recommendation. Now, if I want to, right, I can also give my design options later on. Uh, I can just dump these three. Let's say kinetic करके design कर लेते हैं. I'll dump the design over here. And I'll also have cutting edge features ka MD file. So you drop in your collections wherever you require, and you can reference it later on. This is a prototype demo. The priority is fast, impressive, and easy to iterate. Three realistic stacks: plain HTML, Next.js. So if you want it to look cool, then Next.js. But I'll go with the plain HTML because of
Yeah.
speed again. For it
Yeah.
to now compile and all, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
So I'll say plain HTML, and I'll say that I prefer the design style in the kinetic is here, kya? Kinetic folder. Okay.
Right.
So it will then ask design related questions if required, else it will go back to the contextualization of what do I need to do.
Right.
Let me read the design reference before continuing. So what is happening right now is the context is also building up, right? So, but this is still fine. The planning can take up a lot of context, but if you have a Q&A path wherein right now, right, you haven't taken it through a lot of documents.
Yeah.
So right now the context accumulation should be pretty low. Second, where is it? This one doesn't show the context utilization. So the reason I'm showing stage-wise is because it has a very cool feature. So a lot of people are used to this thing. What is a lovable, right?
Lovable, huh?
So once you complete the context, it will build a mockup, and then you can use this like lovable. It will open up a browser window, and you can interact with visual elements. You can just say click and do all of that, right? So that is possible. So that's the reason. In other models, right, you can see the context utilization. So in open code, let's say, how do I move this particular? Second. In open code, in any of the experiments or test project, let's say, right? So the context utilization is shown through this bubble.
Right.
Second update, I want an update. Hang ho gaya. Technology, dude, technology.
AI,
Hopefully, huh?
I'd say AI should start solving for stuck machines now.
Huh. It's getting stuck here for some reason. Where's my stage wise? It has taken my. Let me read the design into question 5. How do we map the yield optimization concept into the kinetic design language? So kinetic has a very different design language. So I'll tell you why it's asking this question. So
Right.
if I go back to this, kinetic kidhar gaya? This is kinetic. So this is a style.
Hmm.
Now it realizes that this does not fit into the structure of the simulator that uh,
Hmm.
it needs to execute, right? So it's asking me, how do we map the yield optimization concept? So accordion catalog or mission control dashboard, kinetic
Hmm.
style.
Hmm.
So keep
Hmm.
kinetic colors, typography, and all that. Adapts the visual language and loses the kinetic element, or uses the signature motion, but the accordion has a browse and drift paradigm. So let's say option A. Does it say how many questions will it ask? In open code, it actually asks question 1 of 15 and so on. Typically, it
Hmm. Hmm.
asks anywhere between 12 to 30 questions based on how clear have you given your initial construct.
Hmm. 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 Understood.
Right, question 6, the dev port discussion. For plain HTML and all that, there's no dev server, so no port required. The
Hmm.
reason I had this is in a lot of cases, I create a Node.js
Hmm.
project, and every Node.js project has a port 3000 associated. So
Right.
I cannot run multiple
Yes.
servers. So
Yes.
it should automatically ask me for a different port, and it
Hmm.
recommends a port.
Hmm.
So I have a hard-coded question, but it says you don't have a port, so you don't need it anymore. So
Understood.
it
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
ahead.
Got it.
Now what it's doing is it's writing the PRD glossary flow document since this is a UI project, and it will build out the PRD and all that. All right. And then I can ask it to build the first mock and then refine the process.
Yeah.
So in the interest of time, probably I'll not build it out completely because the built
Yeah.
out project will be much more refined than what we have as a
Hmm.
initial
Right.
um, wireframe.
Right. Right. Not a worry.
Now write it all. Yes, write it and also create a mock-up for me to provide you with feedback. So this is the step from where this starts looking like, oh, it's already writing.
Exactly.
I think it's writing. Yeah.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Huh. So this is where it converges into lovable once it writes the PRD glossary and all that. And in fact, you can then drop all of these files to lovable and continue if you want to. So it has step-by-step things, right?
So
And
basically, it's a solve your ideation problem and basically the consulting stage. So now, before you want to build the prototype, you can choose
mm,
any other. It might be lovable, it may be make, or it could be anything. But the ingredients for these applications, it is ready as an outcome of this workflow.
correct. There's a slight deviation here. Now, the plan that it will build, right? It will be built in phases.
Right.
Now, I've aligned the phases to fit every phase within 200K context window.
Hmm.
So some of the phases can be parallelly executed, in which you can say that just create subagents to execute the parallel phases and sequentially operate.
Hmm.
So one agent, one phase, and then you kill that agent. When the next agent runs the phase two, it'll read those 2 or 3 documents. It'll get to know what to do next and it'll execute. So this way, you're automatically reducing the context usage for each run. So it'll
Yeah.
build smarter. The results will also be much better,
Understood. Understood. Makes sense.
right? Permission errors. So it's doing something. The problem is majority of my work, I do it in my work laptop.
Hmm.
And over here, I am not able to install Hermes mainly because I've locked the security of this so much. So script
Okay.
execution is denied by default.
Hmm.
But it
Hmm.
should still be able to write HTML files.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
it's struggling is to use some of the tools. There is a tool called Just, which
Hmm.
schedules the entire, what do you call, hard-coded concepts over here, and it's struggling with that. I can see the struggle, but fair
mm.
enough. So it has written the glossary definition. See, revenue per available car day. It has defined its own KPIs, booking velocity,
Right,
yield optimization. So glossary.md will have KPI definitions. Then flow.md will have the user interaction flow. Then you have your product requirement document with the requirements in terms of features and so on. Who is this for? Ship prototype can do all of these and so on. So these are
right,
necessary documents for you to have create a good artifact.
right,
And you take this artifact into any other tool and then get a good output out of it.
right.
So it's still writing. I think it's writing in using parallel agents.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm
I,
using GLM 5.2 right now.
hmm.
And GLM 5.2 is absolutely fantastic model. It is not lazy. The laziest model is Gemini. This writes fantastic plans. In fact, it is Opus level, I would say, for 1/10 the price.
Actually true. And this is something I experienced when I was solving some complex problem in Gemini. I think it was related to Google Cloud or something. So at the end of it, I asked it that, okay, whatever you have written, write me a detailed tutorial. It didn't
Hmm.
write more than a page, right? And then I had to pick up Gemini's conversation. I had to throw it to Claude, and then Claude wrote
Hmm.
it pretty nicely, pretty detailed
Yeah, yeah.
once. So
I
it's
would say
truly
I would
lazy.
say you'll be surprised. Try GLM 5.2 or
Yeah,
Kimi K3. You'll
yeah,
be blown away.
yeah.
The depth of plan that it creates, right? It creates plans better than Opus. The
Nice.
best plans are written by Fable that I've
Mm.
seen. The
Yeah.
next best is GLM and K3. Then your Opus comes in.
Hmm.
What Opus is really good at is mathematics. So if it is super vague and all, it's slightly better than GLM.
Right.
But this is gonna take a little more time.
Hmm. No, that's fine. Do you have some previous outcome which you can show? The
It's in my
ultimately
work
stuff.
laptop.
Oh, it's in a
That's
work
the
laptop.
problem.
Okay, no
Yeah.
worries. So, and what I'll do is that once it is done, maybe you can send some snapshots or something,
Yeah, I
and
can do that.
we can put that as part of the say the outcomes which it generates. Okay.
Huh,
So
we can do
yeah,
that.
but I think moving on, taking the larger picture out of this entire exercise, I'm just trying to assimilate our long conversation, right? Which started with talking about AI, how it has impacted, say, you as an individual, how, say, thinking about AI is you always start with the simplest of the interfaces, your web portal, you're happy-go-lucky, you're getting to do some things in bits and pieces. And I think majority of, if you look at the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid is still majority of the workforce, definitely the business folks, but I also see a lot of people in tech who have not crossed that level. When you
Hmm.
cross that and move to the next level of pyramid, and that is where the majority value unlocks, when you start to understand that, okay, there's a lot more than what I used to think, that one-off tasks, now it can think with you. As I said, pair programmer, right? Or a pair problem solver, you could say, right? Okay.
Pair problem solve.
So this
That's a
could,
better word. You know why? Because
yeah,
when I work with people with 10, 15 years of experience, the common problem that I have is they have a fixed mindset.
yeah,
If a problem cannot be solved, they'll say it can't be solved. And they'll bring me 10 reasons why it can't be solved.
right,
And
right,
thanks to AI, number one, it helps me counter. Okay, structurally counter those arguments.
right,
The second part is I can easily say, can you validate it against AI? Can you give me 2 to 3 ideas that is tryable? I know it's not going to work out. It's going
right,
to fail. But give me
right,
the five best approaches that you can try, which you're not sure of.
right,
So
right, right.
moving into what they are not sure of and what they can try, that brings in
Yeah.
hesitation. And
You
where AI can help you is at least that unknown unknowns, right? It can be
exactly.
made more approachable through AI. So you
Yeah,
just ask them to say, okay, give me two definitely failable, but then things that you have not tried.
exactly.
So ask
And
AI to give me two ways to do this.
and I think I don't know what that method is called, but many times when I'm brainstorming with AI, especially for the ideas which I have not much clue about, So I'll say, why is this needed? What will happen if this is not there? Right?
Uh-huh.
Something like that. And they'll say, try to negate yourself, try to be the devil's advocate, and say, this is my work. Brutally, say, critique it, right? And
Hmm.
that has helped a lot to expand. And you read my mind. I was about to ask you about that quadrant about known knowns, known unknowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns. It really expands your horizon before you even land up to talk to a human, right?
Yeah.
And this helps. So if people, most of the times when I've seen people come to you for help, they come heavily unprepared. They'll simply be saying, okay, I'm looking for something like this. I'll say, it won't work now, right?
Hmm.
If you are coming to me, or if I am going to anywhere, what is my homework?
Hmm.
You have the best tools out there, which has the most, which has all the knowledge of the world.
Yeah.
Just by probing a little bit, you never know that suddenly you take a direction into some unknown for you, which now is a known, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this could also happen. And then you make a self adaptive system which takes this, right, and feeds into the context. And you have a, say, bunch of indexing done. So this knowledge keeps on accumulating, and your outcomes, it remains much more controlled and grounded to reality.
Correct. So this also helps me understand my or challenge my known unknowns and move into the unknown unknown territory. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm talking to you, right, and you believe that things can't be done.
Right.
Uh, so Uh, so I'll say that let me meet you in 15 minutes. Hey, but what's your first one-liner thought? So he
Yeah.
gives me his one-liner thought. I can then copy paste it to Claude and say that, hey, this is what my team is saying. I want to challenge his thought process. Give me two solutions and what all questions should I ask?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah.
will prepare me.
That is
And
helping a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead. Sorry.
and the same treatment can be done for the client. So if you think that the client conversation is going to be difficult, do that. If your performance appraisal, if you think it's going to be difficult, do that. So it
Yeah.
prepares you for all the conversations. So
It does. It does.
conversationally, you are not blocked. So
Exactly.
that removes one apprehension. The second apprehension is if you're not sure about where to build your skills, and where do I bring in time to get my skills, right? So you can make a list of things that are eating your time and
Mm,
ask you AI, how can I automate this?
right.
So it helps you automate, create the time to learn, and it can also plan your learning path.
Very much. And I think that has been a game changer for me. And it's ironic that I'm running an education and skilling company, and I myself don't go to YouTube much for
Hmm.
learning, because now YouTube becomes a burden that I have to hear all that context about that person, all that background, and something, and then what I need may come. And I
Hmm.
cannot stop that person that whose video is going on and say, no, 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 I have a question. Can I? But with a Claude or anything which is in front of me, it directly helps me. I basically started going top down. That, okay, here's a problem, here's something which is there, a random thing, and I have 10 problems running around in the company, and I'll throw 10 problems to 10 terminals, and it gives out something. It does first, I'll just go blind. Trust AI, let it do whatever it does. Next iteration, I'll literally tell it, wow, how did you do it? Can you give me a step-by-step tutorial of how it was done? And then it will
Hmm.
list down everything, and then I'll say, okay, which are these are where is purely required LLM, and which of these are scripts or manual. Then it divides that and ultimately tells me that out of 100%, 10% was where the AI was required, the LLM was required, the rest everything was script generated by it, or it was just tool calls.
Correct, correct.
So that really helped save time. And a lot of ideas were stuck in PPTs for years. They were just unlocked. And as you said, that preparing. So I have been bottleneck for my client conversations. So then I said, whatever conversations we had, we recorded, and then we said, use this to get, as I said, like, what question should I ask? And then I passed it to the team, that now when you come, and you should be independently be able to take client calls. Here are some templates, use it to generate your questions, get it critiqued by AI, and then have the
Hmm.
final outcome and take it to the customer. Let's
And
review
people are
only that.
creating such beautiful structures to this, right? Have you heard of this guy called Matt Pocock?
I've
So
heard, I
he's
think I've heard.
he's
Yeah.
a programming educator. So
Mm.
he has built a skill called, I'll show you, slash teach. All right. This slash teach skill, are not tech teach.
Each. Near 1.5 minutes.
Correct. So there's a slash teach skill as well, which you can download.
Right.
And let's say you mentioned the same thing, right? Lot of YouTube videos, or you have a lot of PPTs, and you have to learn something. Now there is an objective to that learning.
Right.
Either you want to catch up to what is cutting edge, or you would want to summarize and refresh, and so on. There are multiple learning objectives.
Very
So what
much.
that skill tells you is, okay, at the end of it, right? Let me give you a plan, but then at the end of it, what do you want to achieve?
Right.
Given your answer, it will then arrange the topics. It will discover pages and so on,
Right.
so that you achieve that. This thing, productivity teach dot skill dot in.
Got it.
So you can
Okay.
also go through his YouTube video in terms of why it works. So
Yeah.
his philosophy is also fantastic in terms of why it works.
Got it.
One more thing.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah.
thing is, one second, yield optimizer,
Okay. Just go
HTML.
with that.
Let me just check what it has built. Test
Yeah.
optimizer. So it has created a static HTML page. Again, if you had selected React.js, it will be dynamic in nature.
Mm.
But
Mm.
it has created a static for promotion, what do you call simulation, standard rate simulation, airline crew simulation, deep discount simulation. So it has created something, and we'll have to go through that. But the beauty is, from here, it's like lovable. You can pick up an element. Let's say
Yeah.
I want to change the style of this. So this is selected, I do this and so on. But
Yeah.
it brought into a stage where the structure is right.
Hmm.
So for different types of solutions that they provide, you have a structure. Now, once you have
Right.
a structure, the KPI is defined and so on, the content layout can be simplified. And that is
Hmm.
what this particular process provides you with.
Hmm. Interesting. But yeah, once it comes down to this point, actually, this becomes a handshake between this flow and the next flow which starts. And this way, this entire practice, like this workflow, the best practice, this becomes repeatable again. So
Correct.
one part of one challenge of AI is that, and I see a lot in my team is that everybody starts coming up with their own workflows and everybody is happy about it, but nothing comes out. Like in the same
Yeah.
company, I see five different brands, or I see
Yeah.
five different stories or five different structures. And that's where it becomes headache, where everybody is saying that, okay, I'm super efficient, but collectively we are like super stuck, right? So this really helps there.
So you have to work backwards in terms of what do you want to what
Hmm.
is required as a process to get there. And
Exactly.
once you do that, now you can apply the same process to, creating Excel files, summarizing your PPT, preparing for your next meeting, preparing for client presentation,
Yeah.
preparing your next proposal. So you save massive amounts of time. Now, time is no longer a reason for you to not learn. In the end, please learn.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think that's a great way to end this really deep dive conversation. And I must say, like, this was the first time I connected with somebody who's in a senior leadership position, but is so open to showcase his experiments. And as you said, what we tried to do in January 2026 looks so historic today
Yeah.
in January, July 2026. And it's going to go faster and faster. So I think the best way to do is that, and it has always been right. You work through things, do it manually, figure out, stitch through the process, understand the aspects, and try that aspect, those components with AI, whether AI can solve it. And most of the times, I've been so surprised that it was just about me, like, oh, I'm not sure whether it will work or not, well, I'm not sure it will happen or not, and then I go and ask, and it just happened. It's like, why was I thinking so much? It was just a mental block for me. And same thing I tell to the team. Why don't you just go and mindlessly first try? Don't even
Hmm.
think about something will work or not and see what it does. And that's where that unknown known thing comes into that. I couldn't even imagine that could happen, right?
Yeah.
So see, and this thing I tried to apply with my marketing person. She comes from a BCom background, and
Hmm.
I straight away exposed her to terminal and VS Code, and I
Hmm.
said like, this is something. And I said like, forget the word code there. Remove the
Yeah.
word code from Cloud Code. remove the word code from VS Code. Okay, that's the scary part. And then you just start talking to it. Forget about what it generates, some lines it generates, some code. Don't think about it. See if it gets the outcome which you're looking for. And being a marketing
Are
person, yeah,
Amit, the reason I was showing this tool, right, is exactly because of that. In my company as well, right? I'm saying either use open code or stage wise because they're scared of open code. I mean, people get scared of
good.
terminals. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can configure Cloud Code over here,
yeah.
even in open code, and they actually switch a lot faster.
Exactly. So that's what I said. The visual people, right? They
Hmm.
will say, and many times I used to feel that, hey, I'm able to get it done so fast, guys. You guys are not picking up. And then they said, no, sir, I'm trying. And then when I said, okay, share your screen, walk through your workflow. One conversation happening on browser, another conversation co-work, third conversation somewhere else. Like, guys, you have
Hmm.
to come at one place first of all. Figure
Yeah.
out what is that one place where you, and that's why I said your workspace
Hmm.
also needs rethinking, right? That
Hmm.
use something which is visual like this. I really liked the way the stage wise, and it is very non-tech, right? It is not tech,
Yeah. It's not
so
tech. It does not scare people. Terminal
it does not scare
scares the
people.
heck out of people.
It's a heck out of people. But if you, I mean, it's just a mental block. But I thought, okay, let's not fight that mental block. Let's offer them people the tools they're getting comfortable out of browser. I said like no browser, please. No, don't go to browser. Whatever you have to do, build your context layer here itself in your local, in your shared drive and everything. Feed everything to that one interface which you want to work on. Let's agree on one. We all
Hmm.
agreed to VS Code, but now if I look at stage wise, I think that VS Code thing might also scare them off. I'll say come to stage wise. It looks very light. It's look very neat. Lot of unnecessary stuff is not there.
Correct. So the idea is, right, the tool ecosystem also changes every 3 months. This is what I saw. So this stack stage wise, right? I noticed last month. From last
Yeah,
month, I'm using it. I'm pretty sure
yeah,
from next month I'll use something else.
true.
There'll always be better things in the horizon. So,
Yeah. And I think this there couldn't be a better time to for people to learn. And I see it a lot. And I'll come down to the some of the very first point, and this would let this be our last topic where the fresh guys who's entering, right? Like you have
uh,
been, and I let me be very straight that if we are saying that I have been able to build this context, build this, all this, because you have been there, done that, you have carried that valuable experience, right?
mhm,
But now the new workforce, people who are entering, right? The graduates who are coming out, yeah, the academia, it was always screwed up, and that it is again, it has become worse and worse with AI coming in. Whether it is, and I've talked to many professors, and they say we are really helpless. We don't know what's
mhm,
happening, whether these guys are learning or not. And then they enter workplace, right? And then they're expected to suddenly perform and say, "Hey, here, use AI and do wonders." So how do you see that this when these graduates come in and how should they be rightly skilled? We say, hey, there is AI, go ahead and learn. So I understand the motivation part. But
mhm.
outside of that motivation, is there a process where, say, the junior senior combination or this could work, how where they could be groomed well? And I talk more from the traditional trainings perspective. Okay, you teach them SQL, you teach them Python. I think that problem is solved. But the point is that how do you groom to a point where they say, okay, when I give you AI, this is how you reliably use it. This is how you produce outcomes which do not. Yeah. So do you have a framework around that, or do you suggest something for the kids? Toolkits, skill set. I heard this tool set, mindset, skill set from many people.
True.
So
True.
what's your take on that?
So it'll be Dunyadari set. So what I'm trying to do is open source problem statements. So in other words, right? Uh, what is missing from an experienced person? The experience of dealing with broken infrastructure, broken components, and real life business feedback. So, if you have problem statements, not with clean data and so on, right? If you ask people to figure out the structure, now because of AI, it is easier to learn that. So, let's
Yeah,
say there's a retailer and the retailer uh, does not have customer data, sales data, and so on. They have broken sales data from 80 different retailers.
yeah,
Give them a list of retailer names. They have Nielsen data, they have IRI data. Now they have to figure out. a marketing plan. So with that, they'll just decide on which brand should I place in which market and how much should I think. So figure things out, boss. So
Hmm.
create a data structure, create a data flow, and create a dashboard. Now you have to be the client and then reject all the ideas. And
Hmm.
they have to go through rejection. They have to grow through rejections as well.
Right.
Go through and grow through, both
Growth.
through rejections. And
Nice.
that is the reality that they will face.
That's true.
The
But
reality is that the infrastructural data that is available in client's end is not AI ready,
right.
and they'll have to fast track. How do I understand whether the data is good or bad?
Right.
Learn infrastructure and learn the real life data sets. Nielsen कैसे data देता है? How
Hmm.
does Walmart data look like? Now you can get the schema out of this thing, right? LLMs.
Right.
So get mock data created and then create an app. And you as a client, you'll have to test it out, break it, and then say, boss, it doesn't work. You've already wasted 2 days. I just have 2 more hours. How do you fix it?
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's the reason Dunyadari is what I'm saying is probably your role can be that. I mean,
And
giving
I
that
think
exposure.
it's becoming more and more that, and we so we being in this skilling industry, we are getting into more and more of a guide role rather than an active instructor role, where
Hey, that should switch. See, people who are going through a college mode, they expect to be taught. And
yeah,
with AI coming in, that is no longer true for an expectation.
yeah,
So you expect them to understand what you're talking at your level.
right.
So you use keywords, you throw keywords, they'll have to write it down, they'll have to go through LLM, try to understand. If I talk about deep discount simulation in B2B, they have to understand, they should not ask
Mm.
why.
Yeah, very true.
And
And
let them research and come back to you with the
yeah,
conversation. And if they're not able to say that, boss, you're not there yet.
very much. So I think workplace was always about say solving problem, and
Uh,
then historically training rooms were created to isolate people from the brutalities of workplace and give them a safe environment to pick up. But I think with AI both merges. You can actually bring the workplace brutality in a environment where there is an entity which can mimic both sides, which can
Correct.
mimic either your client, and you can tell
Hmm.
it be a very picky client, very say
Yeah.
irritable client,
Yeah.
and kind of look at my work, and basically you can be
You
you
can
can
create a critic agent, you can create a mentor agent.
very true.
Learn
No,
through the mentor agent and deliver to the critic agent.
and this something which we have seen with people, and as humans we like to shoot others down, right?
Yeah.
I like to shoot you down that okay, hey, this is not
Especially when you are new to a role. So if your client
exactly.
is new to his role, he'll do that.
Yeah, and with graduates also with Gen Zs, we tried this experiment some time back, and we just gave them an open case study, an open problem statement, and said that go ahead and come and research, come with your tech stack, and defend your tech stack against others. And it
Hmm.
was supposed to be a 15-minute act, and it went down to 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
And it was simply because people got involved and said, "Oh, you are negating me. Wait." Goes to ChatGPT again and finds out some answers, shoots them. The other person does it, so automatically they did so much of research in the span of 2 hours without
Hmm.
me doing anything. I just had to go there and say, hey, calm down, calm down. Okay. And so it actually gave us an idea that now the researching, learning, you cannot sound fake now. If you're sounding fake, you'll
Yeah.
be caught, because
Yeah.
my next question would be that okay, let's go deeper, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that okay, you rely on your head, on your brain, and saying you have your second brain, use it, which has all the information. But then how you extract knowledge, what are the kind of cross questioning, it goes back to the idea of inculcating consulting skills amongst people, right? The way you break down a problem, the way the critical thinking, the first principles thinking, all these things which have been talked about in the BCG rooms or the McKinsey rooms. But now I think it has to be mainstream amongst graduates, because that gives you frameworks to think, and that helps you get the kind of structured outcome which you brought almost in an hour, right? So
In the end, what is very important is to ask, what is my contribution to it? So earlier, when I was in consulting, right? I used to think that knowledge and structure thought process, that is the value that I bring to table. So in the end, the civilization looks at what you bring to the table. From hunter-gatherer times, either you bring food, you cook food, or you feed food, and so on, right? So
Yeah.
you do something to the civilization.
Right.
Right now, when there is AI, your contribution is limited, but it has to be very focused.
Very
So
focused.
what is
And
your role in bringing
right.
in value?
Right. And your role is defining the stakes here. It's like the difference between a client deal converted versus not converted. Because AI
True.
is not going to say, oh, AI is going to say, I'm sorry, could not happen. It
Yeah.
will do all your analysis, but the deal is gone.
True, true. So in the end, the human communication will always be there.
Right.
So managing expectation is not an AI work easily. All
Right.
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 So
Right.
that has to be done through a human.
Right.
Bringing in organizational changes is not an AI role because
Right.
there are humans involved and you need to bring structured conversation. An AI cannot do that. So
Right.
uh, you being a part in a transformation, a change process, those are the roles which will be there for some more time, I would say. And these are the ones you have to be fantastic at expectation management, fantastic at communication, fantastic at bringing change to the table. So
Right.
if
Right.
you're afraid of change, guess what? The
Right.
org expects you to drive that change for yourself and for
Yeah.
others.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like the term you say for some more time. So you're still saying that you still are upbeat about that AI can still take away some of those skills in future.
Because
And
from the
yeah,
past 15 years, whatever I thought was my specialty, right,
it's
has been
gone.
eroding. I had to learn something new every year. It's
Very,
always,
very true.
any skill is alive for some time.
Yeah, that's true. And I think with if people accept that this idea of continuous learning or like lifelong learning, that's true. It's no more that you maybe do a course or a certification and then you can survive for long. Won't happen. And this is not happening linearly. It is happening exponentially. So we'll have to be on the top of our game and always rediscover what's the role we play in the game, right?
Exactly.
So with that, Sudarshan, I think it was a fantastic conversation, my longest, and still wanted to go, but I think we'll have to take a pause and would want to come back again with newer questions. And I think even if we connect, say, a couple of months down the line, you'll have a new story to tell, I'm sure. So, so with that, thanks a lot for your time and joining in and making
Thanks
this.
for hosting me. And I assume that you'll eventually be forced to use AI to edit this video to make it a smaller session.
Let's see how fast I can do it.
Yeah. All the
Thanks,
best.
Sudarshan. Thanks, you.
Thanks,
Take care.
Amit. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.